good midday to y'all. I'm just out and about. So I said, let me jump on here and just chat, see what's going on. I never asked you guys, I'm live, anything. So today I want to make this as real quick. This is like a ask me what you want to segment. you know? So whatever you want to ask me, just go ahead and ask me. I know a couple people always have questions for me or whatever, but right now I'm cooling. And the other day I ain't had time, cuz today I got time. Y'all remember that kid from Colorado, the white kid? Anyway, I just want to check in. If you guys got any questions, anything you want to ask me or whatever, right now is the time. So ask me whatever you want to. Feel free to not harbor yourself or whatever. I think this should be one of those times. I think I might have had some, involvement, maybe to a certain extent, with how people can perceive things and be presumptuous in a couple of situations. So I'm trying to be like, put this out there so it never comes up. So anything you want to ask me, anything, chat it in the chat room right now. I really want to go and do this other thing too, and I think I'm going to set that up where I'm going to actually have you guys come in on one of the other engines I was using on my other page, and I'm able to invite people in, have a invite link, things like that, make things a little interpersonal. So through my transition to moving from one point, hey, K. Cole, what's going on? Salute, sir. This is my city right here. I'm just letting y'all get a view. I see the town, But I thought I love having these moments where I can let everybody just ask me or whatever, but I want to set it up so I can do some video call-ins or whatever. Send it to some of the ops too. Let's have some fun with that, yeah? Send it to some of the ops. Here's your chance. Show your face, So we'll have time with that. How are y'all doing? How's everybody doing? I get emails sometimes and I get personal messages from people. And I know a lot of you guys are going through things yourself with your families in some cases, your own individual personal sometimes, and other things that definitely matter. Good morning, Annette. What's going on, Chi-Town? I got some words to say about Chi-Town too, because this Lori Lightfoot chick, I've been really investigating this broad, but I'm gonna get into that in a second. But there's a lot of y'all that are going through your own situations and hardships or whatever. You come in and you tune in with me and you rock with me. Hey, Star Pepper, and you rock with me, and I appreciate it. K. Cole put the sad face. Lori Lightfoot, public enemy number motherfucking one, isn't she? So I appreciate all y'all, and I hope that all y'all situations that y'all been going through also come to. It's hotter than Jesus out here right now. I hope that all y'all situations too come to a close and at the best possible reconciliation and ending that they possibly could. You know what I mean? I really, really, really do. And I look at y'all as like a family here, because it's almost up going to be a year in 4 months. That's why I shared some of those videos today, because it came up on my thing somewhere else, and where I shared it or posted it. And I was like, wow, it's been 8 months, So I'm so happy to be out of the situation I was in and everything else. And a lot of y'all helped contribute to get me out of there, at least the pathway and the segue to getting there. So I would never turn my back on y'all. I told y'all, even when shit get better, I'm still rocking. You know what I'm saying? And so I just wanted to say this about Lori Lightfoot. Y'all should really listen to this. I watched as a reporter interviewed her, and she had made a previous statement before. She had said, Lori Lightfoot, and she said she only wanted to particularly do press with black outlets. And in one way I could understand why she would say that, and then in another way, I don't understand why she would make a public announcement of that. That's something you would do privately if you were going to initiate something like that. They never make an announcement to say, hey, we're going to only have white reporters in here. It's a beautiful day here in Stamford, Connecticut, too. I love my goddamn city. And shout out to DC, because I know that right there, too, the DMV. That's in my blood. But let me tell you something. Lori Lightfoot, the gentleman said, based off that statement that had been made, and it had been sent out to the press, so it wasn't like y'all never get to see the other side of the city here. This is one portion of it, but it's actually much more. I'm going to show you in a minute. Thank you, sister. I appreciate you. Brenda Galveston. I just wanted to say to you guys that Lloyd Lightfoot, the gentleman pointed out after he asked this question, and he said, do you think that violence in Chicago is a big deal? And Lloyd Lightfoot gave this long-winded, this asinine-ass fucking answer, right? And what she said is this. Lloyd Lightfoot said, well, the infrastructure of business here, she pointed to infrastructure again. That's why I tell you this infrastructure shit is a fraud. This is a way to get past and get some buildings and keep a couple failing businesses alive for the next couple of months to see if they actually make something so they get some taxes off of them. They need all that revenue to come back, all them goddamn checks they gave out and everything like that. But Lloyd Lightfoot responded, and this is what the broad said. She said, well, I feel the business and infrastructure points are here, and they're staying here, and they've been here, da-da-da-da. Lori, listen, those businesses are staying there because the pure simple fact, they ain't got no fucking other choice. They're contractually obligated for leases. Some of them, they don't have the money to leave. Some of them need to recuperate some of the money that they lost. You know what I mean? So you got a whole bunch of binding factors there that would be why those businesses would stay there. That is no way representatory of what's going on in Chicago. Now, I'll tell you guys exactly what I mean by that. Lori Lightfoot now had her constituency argue not only with another senator that was trying to impose, it was a regulation basically, and this regulation would make it so that a lot of these areas that are in Chicago, specifically north end of Chicago, was far right there, especially the south end and north end of Chicago, they would now have some protections. Some of those protections would be monetary, and some of those protections would be otherwise something in the grants and everything else. Yes, I would. So now what we're seeing is Lori Lightfoot and her constituency seem to not only not agree that there's a problem with violence in Chicago. Now I want to let you guys know that I'm not exaggerating here. In every major city that we've seen in the past couple of months, and I'm going to say particularly the past 2 months since it's gotten warmer, what we've seen is an uptick of violence. Now, this violence is employed by whites, blacks, Latinos, all three alike, okay? Whether you're walking in the grocery store and shooting 20-something plus people, or you're outside the club and you shoot a couple of people. Whatever the case may be, one way or another, you are still in a situation where there's some type of violence. And what you're seeing is, all across the nation, whether it be Colorado or the grocery store shooting, or wherever else, people are leaving these cities. They're leaving these cities just like they're leaving Chicago, but Chicago has a bigger problem. And that man also pointed this out. Places that were formerly, what you would consider suburban areas, are now almost considered, if you could call it, an urban turbine by the problems that happen there. And what I mean by the problems that happen there, I mean like this. One weekend in Chicago, and the reason I'm concerned about it, because I'm a man of color, and a lot of these victims and the shooters are men of color. Now, I hold no fet to that or whatever, but white people, Latin people, and everybody else, you're gonna have to take your downs for it too. I saw a country western concert and a man sitting on top of the Madeline Bay Hotel, in which here in Connecticut, we later, thanks to, I think it was Lieberman and I forgot what the other guy's name is, it looked like Lyle Lovett or something. But those two gentlemen made sure they enacted a bill, and that bill made it so Comstocks, which make a weapon basically go from semi-automatic to automatic. It's a closure. We made them illegal here in the state of Connecticut. Now, I don't know how many other states fell by, but I do know Connecticut was the first, okay? We were the first. And getting rid of these damn things were the best thing that we ever did, because of pure simple fact it didn't intrigue anybody else to want to do the same. This man shot 500 people. I want you to keep that number in your mind. He shot 500 people from the top like a fucking coward from a hotel room. And he had more guns with him, just in case he ran out, or one got jammed, or the police came up. He would have a fair shootout, because now I gotta overpower them, at least for a little bit. I'm not gonna make it out this hotel room unless I jump. You'll never take me alive, you know that rhetoric. So everybody has a part to play in this new uptick in violence across the country. I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. Even if it's attacking the poor Asian people nowadays, everybody has their part to play in this shit. A lot of this is brought on by quarantine, which I mentioned or whatever. But for Lloyd Lightfoot to sit there and say and speak against the facts, and I know what that man was speaking the facts. And the problem was he even allowed her the space not to mention what the numbers were. So I'll give you the fucking numbers. As of the past 2 weeks, the weekend before last, there were 49 people killed. This included on fucking Father's Day. The following week after that, there was 40 people accounted for and killed, mostly being black and Latino with 2 whites. Okay? One included in a police chase, one of the white gentlemen, with a semi-automatic weapon, which evidently you need to walk through the streets of Chicago nowadays. There are people on the highways shooting at people on the highway indiscriminately in Chicago right now. If you don't believe me, look this up. This is another pandemic on top of the pandemic, because a lot of people are doing this. All these behaviors exist in neighborhoods that are diffused. You got a whole space over there, bud, whole space over there. What you see is nowadays, all these neighborhoods are being diffused for a certain reason. And the reason is particularly this. Most black people nowadays have a disdain for each other. They go out of their way to fuck with each other. They go out of their way to do things with each other. They go out of their way to show themselves off or try to prove themselves. But you will find very rarely that these same men of color will invoke the same institution and constitution amongst whites. They won't do it. They won't do it. And the majority of them don't do it because they're scared. They're scared. And some of them are lifelong scared motherfuckers. Those are the ones I particularly stay away from. I cannot stand an older gentleman that's in his 50s or 60s and still has tokens of being a teenager, doing microaggressions, passive aggressions, you know, anything to, look at me, nigga. You see them, nigga, they spinning, nigga, they spinning. That mentality. Sir, I'm a fucking college graduate. If you don't get the fuck out of my face with that dumb nigga shit, and that's what you get. These little microaggressions lead to larger aggressions. And these larger aggressions lead to all the shootouts and all the things like that you see nowadays. So whether it transacts online, whether the transaction is on the streets, whether the transaction is wherever the fuck, the way it's executed is usually in some type of violence to its extremity at the end. That's what we're finding. So whether it was that guy in Colorado, the Iranian man that decided to walk into this grocery store because he was boo-hoo-hoo, they picked on me, ass motherfucker. This motherfucker, and this is what I mean by these feminine ass men they have out here. This man decided that the best motherfucking idea for him to do was to go into a grocery store where there was innocent people. One of the youngest girls that died in there was 21 years old. 21 years old, she ain't even did shit yet. And this pussy motherfucker, because he was mad, because they're picking on me. That's what I mean by these feminine ass men that's being raised out here. I've never seen a group of pussy ass men, excuse me my French, but I've never seen a group of pussy ass men as I ever have in this generation right now. The shit that goes on in this generation is all pure and simply, I think, for clout. And most of the clout is not warranted in any fashion. Most of the clout that they seek to chase out, it's momentary. It's not gonna last. There's no network off of it. There's no way to cash it in for any type of money or monetary anything. And so you'll have guys doing all the most. And all the most means anything and everything. Easily translated. Just to be seen. And the sad thing about it is, as they're being seen, they get more and more notorious as time progresses on. And every time that they get worse and worse and worse and worse, it seems like some way or another, that's a picture right? It seems like some way or another, these same people end up not only evoking their self into society in a negative way, but they also are making more people victims of the bullshit. Now, I talked to you guys, I think it was the night before last, and blah, I did then. And thank y'all for doing that and sharing that too. I appreciate it. And thanks for the likes. Y'all hit that like button, which is, somebody said, spirit. It is in a sense. And I'll define a little bit more what I mean it is in a sense. It is in a sense because you have all these different like sub-religions and sub-beliefs and things like that, and they're being iterated into traditional beliefs. And what you see from that is you get what you call esoteric beliefs and esoteric. It's been here before. It's been here before with Sigmund Freud. It's been here before with Aleister Crowley. It's been here before with God, what was this other guy's name in the 70s? Anton LaVey and many other people like them. And it's other people too. There was another guy. There was a black gentleman, Dr. Malachi York. He was down there molesting girls and boys, impregnating 13, 12-year-old girls. Sicko motherfuckers. God, who else was there? There was another one, Dr. Love or something. What was his name? It was something, Daddy Love. That was his name, a preacher. And I remember him catching them on because they would do editorials of this guy, because later on, what they had found out was this guy was a con artist. He was ripping people off. He was doing all kinds of shit, all right? These guys, they use a platform of basically religion, fundamentalism, Marxism, sometimes communism, but more importantly, I think, in my opinion, socialism. If you look at any country across the world, including this recently, Venezuela did this with their economy. But one of the things you see is that socialism does not work. No matter where you use socialism, it does not work. Even the fucking USSR got dumbed down. You know what I mean? So socialism does not work. So when trying to invoke the ideas of socialism, which mostly all these ideas are made up of, I mean, and it mixes a pinch of Marxism, because Marxism, I think more so nowadays exists in groups like Black Lives Matter, it exists in groups like far right wingers. A lot of far right wingers mix in Marxism. I think it exists in a lot of these separatist groups that have put out ideologies, and there's a fandom for it. You know what I mean? Like there's a fandom for it. And it exists in the hip hop world too. A lot of the things that I'm listening to some of these kids, and I'm like, because they kids to me, you know what I mean? Like I'm still young too, but you will be my little brother or my little sister. So it's like, I listen to these kids and I listen to the shit that they're referencing. And it's all death and destruction, B. It's all death and destruction. And I had a part to do with that. I was in it full-fledged as far as an artist, worker at the company and everything else you serve. I'm different from a lot of other guys that were in the industry. If it's your first time checking me out, I actually say and take blame for what we did. But let's not leave this out. I kissed a girl and I liked it. They said the same thing about rock and roll earlier. And it'll have its dissolve period. Well, the deuce and something else will come along, whatever. But for this time right now, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see more and more of an uptick of it. Now, inadvertently, I think one of the main problems nowadays is that you see a lot of people, and they have this certain notion that somehow or another we're supposed to, and particularly supposed to, adhere to anything or any advocacy that we see online. Meaning if somebody produces it and they've got 135,000 likes or 200,000 likes or whatever the case may be, then what we're supposed to do at that moment is we're supposed to follow that guy. And that advocacy or trend will go for the next, 48 hours if it's really about something, maybe a couple months. And everybody will follow this, and they'll follow it naked. Like they won't think it out. They won't, ponder it any. Oh, maybe this shit ain't, exactly what it's supposed to be. And based off that, you get results. And a lot of times you get results that don't go in your fucking favor. Okay? Those results can be anything. They could be from, just a simple, I told you so. So they could be like, dude, this is some destructive shit. And the thing that I keep trying to tell you guys is, from the 17 years I was in the music industry, and which is well documented, the 17 years that I was in the industry, it was that, but I think most people like me would have thought, that's not gonna never end up to that. They're gonna just get money, which they did. These motherfuckers are becoming, 3, 4, 5 million within a year. But we all know that's a fact. I've seen it, I've done it. That's why I always hold the discretion to say, if you haven't at least made $100,000 in your fucking life in 1 year, don't get in a fucking conversation with me. If you don't currently have a stock portfolio, don't get in a fucking conversation with me. I will destroy you. If you're talking about how I've been living, I lived good when I was a kid, I lived good as an adult. So It's like, it's not about that, but that cocky attitude. We thought that everybody was just gonna, kind of like implore and take it as, okay, we're gonna get more money. Now the money has become almost conclusive in the whole fucking career. It's not about who had the best music, it's about who had the most money. This same music is influencing people. It's influencing people now. And it's influencing people in a degree where the same violence that you see is from a tone. All right? Even if it's the kids that are going into the white kids or whoever else is going to these grocery stores doing these mass shootings and shit like that, yes, you're guilty too. You shoot 500 people at a country western concert and you do it indiscriminately and they have done nothing to you from a hotel window, you're a fucking coward. All right? There's nothing you can say to me that defends that. I don't care what kind of fucking mental illness you had or whatever. Mental illness doesn't make you go kill 500 people or shoot at 500 people. So fuck you on that one. Now I'll say one more time, and I'll say it the last time. You want to talk way back here to do that? I will say for you the last time. Most of these neurotic motherfuckers, right, that you have out here, they have these little microaggressions. They were raised by women, and they act like women. And they have women reactions, emotional. Purely emotional based on one thing and one thing only. That they somehow or another are privileged to have the degree of thinking that they are special. And it's sad, it's unfortunate, but this is the way many people think. Hold on 1 second, guys. You will show my burning for them. You must transfer here for local service. Okay. This is a bit easy. All right, guys, I'm back. Yeah, all right. Ain't getting on now. All right, so I still got time, which is even better. Let me get back into this. I just want to make sure I didn't miss my shit. So, let me tell you guys, and I swear to God to you this. If you look at the violence that's been happening in both the Black and Latin community, let's say within the past, I don't know, 2 months, I saw a story where it broke my heart with this kid. He was with his girlfriend. This was in Chicago, south side of Chicago. And his girlfriend and him got into a little fender bender. And this little fender bender that they got into resulted in this Latino man losing his life along with his girl. A man appears, he pops out the car, and he shoots. He does subsequential shots, kills her, kills the dude. The guy, the reason I felt the most empathy for him was because of pure simple fact, he was actually trying to shield his girlfriend. And that's just commendable to me. I just think that it takes a real man to do some shit like that. So shout out to that Latin brother. You know what I'm saying? I think he was Puerto Rican, but this happened last week. So it's a disdain and I think it's even more so from what my sister tells me and with the crowds they have out there in California and there's a couple of other different reasons. I would think whether or not to say, and I know it's hard, y'all keep up with me and understanding what I'm saying, but I think it would be safe enough to say that the three communities that are being affected by violence the most, it seems to be to me, are Blacks, Latinos, and the spectrum of Asians. Now they're all for three different reasons, or the most similar being the Black and Latin reasons, but for me, personally, I think that most of the time that you see these situations and these occurrences, most of the time that you see them for a reason of this. There's poverty somewhere. And that's what Lori Lightfoot missed. The reason you have all this violence out there, it doesn't matter if it's in Serbia, it doesn't matter if it's in Chechnya, it doesn't matter if it's the Serbs, it doesn't matter if it's Palestine and Israel. We all saw that frustration, right? Anywhere that you have poverty and you have strife, what you're gonna have is you're gonna have violence, you're gonna have alcoholism, you're gonna have a lot of different factors that fit in anytime that you have violence there. I mean, anytime you have poverty. And these violence acts that are happening and occurring, and they happen everywhere. I swear to God to you, everywhere. You saw this last recently. I think what everybody will agree. You saw it last recently when you had the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. So that stands as a testament to his own. I have no problem whatsoever with most people. But what I do have a problem with is when you intentionally go out of your way to start problems with me because of your poverty. And that's what you see out of a lot of people nowadays. There's a lot of microaggressions, a lot of people. I can't tell you how many times. Just yesterday, I was standing right here in this train station, and I was actually getting a ticket because I said, you know what? I've been here all week. It only cost me a couple of dollars each way. And when I mean a couple of dollars, I mean under $10. So I'm just like, why not? So I said, let me set out, go back down to the town, see what's going on. As I'm buying my ticket yesterday, not today, yesterday, break this off a little bit so y'all can see me a little bit clearer. Can y'all see me clearer now? That was a little smudge on there. As I was buying my ticket, this guy comes walking through the train station, and he's yelling out, "Oh yeah, we don't motherfucking nah." And I'm like, what? Let me move over to the side here, guys, so that light's not in there so much. Yeah, that'll work. So I'm like, don't call for me. Don't call for me.
What?
Don't call for me.
I didn't call for you.
You just called right there. Okay, all right. I'm just making sure. I didn't see.
And I'm a smoker. I'm not sick. Just sick as
Well, you know what's going on. All right. Okay.
I had it. Don't worry. I'm good.
That's what we all say till the test come in.
Say this for your way back.
I know. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. All right. So when I think of this, and I'll tell you again, is that which is. Hold on one second. Let me let this lady finish. Just give me 1 second, guys. All right. Anywhere that you see poverty, you see violence. Anywhere. Lori Lightfoot sat back and she just totally demolished the idea that there was violence in her city. When I just gave you the number for 49 killed, that hindered 25 victims in Miami, they still haven't caught those boys. And I hate to say it, and I'm not a proponent, you know what I mean, but sometimes it's just good goddamn police work. I hope they do find these motherfuckers. They shot 25 innocent kids that were at a concert and were bothering no one. Bothering no one. This happened in one city. So I said, let me do some investigation to see what's going on here. And I started seeing trends. Now, y'all know I worked in marketing for Bad Boy for 17 years, okay? So I know what's fucking trend when I see them. I don't need analytics from a demographic sheet. I don't need fucking, I don't need any of that. I know when I see too many wounded people having bad behavior. Exactly, Star Pepper. I know when I see a trend, but I want to tell y'all about this new trend. Y'all should lock in and tell your favorite vlogger about it in the comment section, or leave a comment and tell them. That's the purpose of me going live with you guys, is give you guys insight, but at the same time not charge you for it necessarily like everybody else does. And y'all seem to go along with, charge me platform, but we're not talking about that right now. The things you need to be key and worry about is the new trend. This new trend is multiple shootings, okay? Meaning that they have a problem with one person. So they know effectively if they have a problem with one person, then a multitude of them may possibly come back. There's a trajectory that could be so. So as a result, they say to themselves, well, you know what? We'll just shoot 8 or 9 people at the same time. I'm going to throw up a reel for you guys. I swear to God I am. I've been working on it for like 2-3 days now because there's so many videos. And when I throw up this reel, I want y'all to pay attention to something, that every last one of these shootings, no matter whether they were in Detroit, no matter, and this is of the recent 3 months. That means these motherfuckers that were already twisted had a 1.5 years to sit back under the quarantine and think of any other kind of motherfucking plan they could to come up with when they kept work back out in society and everything was happening again, okay? Now, the funny thing is, now this is old Grim y'all. Hold on, let me turn this around. Y'all see how quick that was? This is where Diana Ross lives. I always tell y'all about this. I'm like, yo, Diana Ross lives right down the block. This is where Diana Ross lives at. All right. Beautiful, quaint little town here. All right. So the funny thing is that I'm seeing this from city to city to city to city. The thing I keep also seeing is the neglect that goes into the funding, the neglect that goes into other preventative measures to prevent this shit from happening. And one of those measures that I think also ignited this, and I'm not saying that it wasn't needed, but I think that somebody let a liberal get into their head a little bit too deep. And these are these outrageous ideas that come from AOC and Talib and all those other ones or whatever. And no disrespect to them, but you have not had enough experience in this country to for me to dictate what is best for me. You know, and in that fashion, I need someone that was homegrown in this country. And I'm talking about your family had to exist around 1700 something on up. Because everything else after that is just a copy. You just copying what you see us do. No matter what side of the spectrum you pull to play in society. If you favoritize with whites, then you do that. It depends on what score of whites you're tearing with. Are you tearing with poor white trash, which the terminology comes from notorious end of self-sufficiency, which you see in many hard-end Republicans that are conservative. That's why I switch off with the Republican Party right there when it gets to that end. But some of the views I do embrace. Some of the views of the Democratic Party I do embrace. But you can't leave this factor out. And I know people are like, huh, what are you talking about? Because sometimes everything don't require this 5 minutes. So if you're not a patient person, if you need rapid fire, then I'm probably not the guy for you. I've had lives that have lasted 3.5 hours because I want you to know every intricate detail. And if you're not that type of person, you're definitely not the type of person that should be out in society anyway either. You got erratic behavior. You're impulse thinking. Impulse thinking works sometimes. Most of the times it doesn't. But sometimes it does. What you're seeing in every last one of these cities is, and what I saw was, in the national cry for was this defund the police bullshit. And I know a couple people might have jumped off because I said something about AOC and all them, they're your favorite candidates or whatever, and I really don't give a shit. I'm sorry I hurt you on that one. We're still friends. But the fact remains is this. AOC, Talib, and the other one have not had the same experiences that you have here in America. What I mean by that is, when I say 17 to 1800s, meaning their experience of America, and even including some of the things they take advantage of, were put as institution for freed slaves. Using laws. I mentioned Mindy Keelan and her brother pretended that he was a black man. They're East Indian. He pretended that he was a black man so he could get some funding to get into UCLA. He was found out. I mentioned to you guys about several other gentlemen that have done the same thing. And this was covered on NBC and MSNBC, by the way, so you can look up both of those archive footage. And you can find it out for yourself. These people have not had the same experience we have in America. They had, in the most part, came at the best time they possibly could in many cases and reaped the rewards of the harvest. Now, I don't have no problem with nobody trying to reap the rewards of the harvest, and I'll share. But don't you give me your ass to kiss as you're grabbing your portion. Because don't you forget who motherfuckers started roasting the heart. Now you have to remember, my family wasn't in whatever country of origin yours is. You understand what I'm saying? And even if it was once upon a time in Africa, even if it was once upon a time in Africa, you have to hold the Arabs, the Spaniards, and the Portuguese, and later on the Europeans for the responsibility of their inaction with the Liberian and transatlantic slave trade. Most African Americans that are in America only come from maybe 3 or 4 regions in Africa. Sierra Leone, Liberia, and a couple other places. Monroeville. Give me 1 second. As you know, I mentioned Liberia, and Liberia is one of the places that most African Americans come from. To impact that even more, President Monroe named the town over the former President Monroe. He's passed now, but he called it Monroeville or Moronia or Monrovia, whatever. I don't even care to pronounce it correctly because of the sheer insult of the fucking what's the name. The colony itself holds no fucking weight in my opinion, you know. So fuck it. But this idol worshiping has a word to play in it too, because see, people are influenced easily by money now, and in an easy way you can make money nowadays. You know what I mean? And some of it comes with nobility, such as myself, other bloggers. Some of it comes with nothing at all. You know what I mean? Just pure, sure fuckery, you know, to its highest proportions. And as a result, you got a lot of people that jump online and they say things or whatever, and a lot of things bounce from online for y'all, for people that are old, if y'all don't understand. They bounce offline and they come into fruition in the streets and in society. Most of these mass shooters that we've had have made an announcement previous to them doing the mass shooting itself, and said how many people they were going to kill, how many people they were going to shoot, and so on and so on and so forth. If they didn't say it out completely like that, they at least uttered and suggested it prior to their action. Through the investigation, you will find the same results. You will find a litany also of mass shooters that y'all gotta excuse me for 1 second, I'm trying to grab my charger. You'll find a litany of mass shooters that have also not been mentioned to you. And this is something they teach in the military as one of his protocols. There we go. As one of his protocols, which is prevent public panic. There, if you do the investigation and you look it up right now as we're speaking, you will see there's a multitude of mass shooters. But what you will see even more so is you will see that a lot of those mass shooters have melanin to their skin. So as once upon a time we could say in this country, oh, well, African Americans, they don't do that. You know what I mean? Or Latinos, they don't do that. But the scores are changing. See, a mass shooting is anything where 3 to 4 to 5 people in one city get shot. Anything that's, and it differs from each city to city, but the numbers are usually 3, 4, and 5, and 6 is a definite. And so, I don't know if y'all realize this, but there's an uptick right now in mass shooting. You see in Detroit, you have actually black constituents. So it's not just me. I'm talking about representatives from those states now talking about the epidemic that's happening with the mass shootings in their particular constituencies and wards and everything like that. And Lori Lightfoot fits into that category. I know a lot of people are like, huh? The reason that you're seeing so many people shot in Chicago the way they are, because particularly, believe it or not, most of those shootings involve 3, 4, 5 victims. That's the point. 3, 4, 5 victims. In Detroit, I just saw one this past week on Monday where 8 people were shot in one city. They have a video footage of another guy running across the street. He parks the car, tells his man, oh, there you go right there, parks the car. His man jumps out. He has some type of semi-automatic AK-47, whatever the hell it is, and lights up the whole side of the truck. They tried to pull off, and you could tell it just was not happening. It just wasn't happening. The car, it's a truck. It says that. It's some type of SUV or something like that. You know, these are rapidly happening, and only thing y'all motherfuckers want to talk about, it seems, is who drops some new music. You just don't care. And I'm telling you, your neglect, and the neglect comes from a lot of these, how can I say it, in all different races. A lot of this neglect has also evoked influence, because now you influence that this is the regular way to act. This is the regular way to do everything. Hey, D-Malicious, salute. D-Malicious, do your thing. I ain't even mentioned that, you see. It's apparent that there's a problem in society. Not only in society, there's a problem right now within a generational curse, if you may say, that exists within white culture, Latin culture, and black culture. Yes, it does. You'll sit around and pass around the family tooth. in the trailer park, you know, oh yeah, it's generational. You go to some of the Appalachian mountains today, in this day, and you will still see the remnants of, you know, old Quaker trash, poor white trash, mounds and everywhere. And some, believe it or not, some black hillbillies. Always some black hillbillies. I'm gonna tell you about that in a minute. But believe you me, there's some black hillbillies. Inbred too. But I forgot what the particular families. I have to look it up. But there was a family. They had inbred so much. They were a royal family, a royal dynasty, and I believe they were in a European. Well, yes, it was a European because it was a part of a monarchy. They were a European dynasty, but I think they were like some type of what's the name? They had inbred it so much that the family started becoming blue. They had a shade of blue tone to their skin, and it was generational. So that's what I mean by generational stupidity. You know, two stupid motherfuckers having a kid, unless that kid's taken out of the environment, it just produce what? Another stupid motherfucker. I mean, it's, you know, it's just is what it is. And we're not saying everybody's got to be a rocket scientist or something like that. That's unrealistic. What I mean is, it's like you had a whole bunch of teen parents last generation. A lot of teen parents. And this generation, you have a lot of teen parents. And nobody pays attention to preventing teen pregnancy. They almost act as if it's normal, and what you should do is cope with it. And I think that's what they attempted to do when they had shows like 16 and Pregnant on MTV. I was on MTV for 2 seasons, so I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Shout out to Direct Effects, down there proudly. Shout out to Terrence Clayton, the director of that show. Producer. Now a producer on 50 Cent shows, so we're trying to see what's happening. That's another thing I need to do too, get an agent again. I need an agent. We'll talk about that some other time. But what I'm telling you guys is this, man. The behavior that you're seeing right now is from generational reasons. If you had 13, 14-year-old parents and you had a 60, 70-year-old grandmother that helped raise them, or they dropped them over there at grandmama in them house, or auntie in them house, you know what I'm saying, Iwela, you know what I'm saying, Tio, Tita, whatever the situation is, you dropped your kids off over there and you went to do whatever the hell you were doing because you were a 13, 14, 15-year-old parent. Yes, you have. And if you're Latino and you say you have it, you're lying. If you're black, you say you have it, you're lying. If it didn't happen in your family, which is chances are, then you know some motherfucker that it has, or you have witnessed it. All right? You have witnessed that shit. You went to school with one of these cats, something. So those parents are kids themselves. So what can they teach their kids? They have not had any experience in life. They have had nothing but their children themselves and everything. So you got auntie and all these people taking care of them. They might have not been nothing themselves in most cases, because I'm not trying to be funny, but this is a pattern that you see mostly in the ghettos, you know. And let's not correlate the word ghetto with black people, because the word ghetto actually had its genesis with Jews in Italy. It was a section where they put the Kaiser Jews, excuse me, not the Kaiser Jews, the Orthodox Jews, and they called it the ghetto. You know what I mean? You can look that up right now. It'll come right up on Google. It should. And I didn't need no Google facts for that. I don't preach Google facts. I preach college facts. I knew that shit years ago. So Jews are actually responsible for the word ghetto, you know? So don't correlate that with black or Spanish people. It's insulting sometimes. And then sometimes it has its privileges. I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up in a neighborhood where people were shooting at and shit like that. And I know other black and Latin people that didn't grow up in areas like that either. Tons of them. And so now you get into a thing where you're getting the people that did grow up like that. Their influence is greater than the ones that are going to Harvard or going to Yale here in Connecticut, or you know, I had to promote Yale. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have these people now that are in society. They were raised by people that were children themselves, or elders that were 60 and 70, holding on to their elder years. These are the people that raised your kids. They have no morals, and in a lot of cases, those people that were 60, 50, 60, 70, helping raise them kids and shit, they wasn't shit them damn self. So what values could they instill? So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 generations usually, because the grandma's now like 31, 32 years old because of this youth birthing. So you have 4 generations of thottery, what else every all still going to the club. Grandma, even at 50 or maybe 49 or whatever in her 40s, she's still going to the club. Her daughter's still going to the club. Now the youngest, she going to the club. You know what I'm saying? So you got 21, 32, and maybe 49, 52. At 49, 52, you can still go to the club. I know a lot of people I used to see at the club that were 49, 52 years old. You know what I'm saying? Some people were 60-something years old. I don't think there's ever an age limit on going to get a drink. It's an adult interaction, you know? So I don't think there's an age limit on going out. But like I don't want to see you in there if you're like 70-something. You look kind of pervertish, unless it's your birthday then. You know, you like 70, 65-ish. I'm looking at you as kind of like you got an ulterior motive for being here. You ain't here to just dance. What you gonna do for this Social Security? You know, ass motherfuckers. These are the people that taught these kids to instill morals and values in them that really don't have much to offer. And they're putting these kids out into society, and they're some of the most emotional kids you can think of. I think one of the benefits that I have is I don't have no kids, but I was in a youth-oriented business, being in the hip-hop industry. And so it allowed me over those 17 years working in the industry to almost, now that I'm older, I'll say I saw some things at the time that made me question a lot of things. At the time, I'm talking about in the fact of working, the whole working pattern, everything like that. Over the years, yes, I saw a lot of things that I thought that were speculative or whatever, and I'll be like, why were we doing this? Why are we doing that? But these are the kids that are committing this violence now. If you look at the unilateral thing is, most of these guys grew up in a house with no mother. Most of these guys grew up in a house with no mother. And it's not just the guys doing the violence, we keep mistaking the fact and not pointing out the notion that the Department of Justice, right now on their website, you can go there and check it out. And I posted it before, that females for the past now 15 years, going into 20, 15 plus going into 20, have made up the rising population, prison population in America. Not men, not even men of color. And white men have increased in prison rate over the past 10 years. This is all on the Department of Justice. At the same factor, black males in certain demographics, most demographics, have declined in jail. But with black women and white women in particular, and Latin women, those 3 groups are the most increasing groups in the prison population as far as the DOJ is concerned. Now, I'll take their word before I take your opinion any fucking day. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear the opinion of what like, that's like taking the opinion of one of the workers from the Ford president. I don't care what the fuck you said. The president said, you know what I mean? Yeah, you can question it. Yeah, question it. But I don't question those numbers. I find them that they're staying sustaining the same way. So a lot of these women are involved in a lot of these actions too. So let's not eliminate them from the conversation as well. Let's not do that. A lot of these women are involved in murders. A lot of these murders happening in Chicago. There was a girl that was a killer in Chicago, and many of y'all know of a young girl. She was only, I think, 18, 17, something like that when they killed her. The police killed her. Light-skinned chick with short hair. She had started out real pretty. I know Annette know what I'm talking about. Because she's still talked about to this day. Like Tuka and all them out there, whatever. I know what goes on in Joliet. I don't know specifically what goes on in Chicago, but I got fam in Joliet. So I'm Joliet, so I know what goes on out there.
This is the train to Grand Central.
I don't know what the answer is to end all this violence or whatever, but I will tell you this, y'all motherfuckers got started. Yeah, but you remember who I'm talking, but it's a young girl. This was not even 5 years ago when they killed her. And she had been responsible for like something like they said 15, 20 plus murders. He said not thottery. Yes, that's thottery. Yeah, man. You're seeing generational thottery. Well, listen, I've seen situations where the mama basically pimping out the daughters. The mama and the daughters share men. You really want to get into it. You ain't gotta look no further than the Kardashians for an example of shit like this.
This is the train to
Kris Jenner
Grand
pimping them
Central.
girls.
The next station is
I
America.
don't care what nobody say. Kris Jenner been a pimp. She pimped her husband, who's now a woman. She pimped him out so hard. She said, "You gonna get out on this motherfucking block again? That's what you gonna do. The medals and shit is up, and get your ass back out here on this block. Oh, you ain't gonna do it? I got you." And then moved him in and let him stay there for a minute while he was transitioning and all that shit. Kris Jenner is the coldest pimp ever out. I don't think anybody can compete with her except for Hugh Hefner. And he might have a run for his money. A seasoned, decadent pimp. Now ain't no pimp slicker than a Spanish pimp, though. I don't care what nobody say. Ain't nobody slicker than a black and Spanish pimp. Don't too. I done seen that a million times. You know, you observe shit sometimes, but you know you can't say that's his broad. You know what I mean? That's all that behavior from the 70s, 60s, and all that stuff, or whatever pimping you're talking about, is all come to its fucking extreme now, especially after this pandemic and this quarantine. And it's let out some of the nuts out of the house, out of the bag, and it's kind of dangerous. It's kind of scary. And if you just look around city to city, whether it be California with their housing crisis out there, they got people sleeping on the streets in tents. Sometimes some of the tents are so flooded, and my sister has told me this before, and I saw it with my own eyes now. Some of the streets are so flooded with tents that you can't even walk down the side of it. Like literally, you got to walk out the street, and you better walk over a few feet from there, because that tent could have whatever in it. It could have feces in it. It could have mice in it. It could, like, it's the most deplorable conditions you could ever think of. And people just stay there and they live like that forever, you know, forever. So those people have been out there, and it's not just Skid Row. I'm not just talking about Skid Row if y'all think that. No, it is extended. It's in San Francisco like that. It's in Bernardino like that. My sister lives in 909. You know, so it's like it's all out there, all the way past Modesto. Cena, all that. It's beyond that. If y'all familiar with Cali, y'all know what I'm talking about. So it extends all those areas. It's not just like coattail to just one area anymore. The homelessness invokes violence, invokes a lot of drug use, and a lot of violence because of that drug use. And that's the other sad thing you're seeing out there right now. So I don't know where to, put this in places really, as far as like what you shouldn't do, as far as like preventing yourself from becoming a victim. But what I will tell you is this: stop thinking that everybody's your brother and your sister, and they're not. Don't approach people and be like, brother, brother, brother. Some of these motherfuckers out here, once you say that brother shit, it makes them more aggressive. So remember that. Don't start out with that brother, brother shit. You don't know where this motherfucker's mentality is. This yesterday, there was this dude at the train. I was telling y'all the story earlier, and I cut off from it. There was this dude, it was at the train station. I was buying my ticket. I was about to get on the train, and I didn't. And this man, he walked past me, and he waited till he got right in front of me and started talking about, he should have never messed with his wife. That's why I ain't had no feelings when they killed him. They shot that motherfucker right in the head. Blah, 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 blah. Just like yelling this out, imagine it, in the train station. And the majority of them, like, the majority, I'm going to keep it real, the majority of my city is really like white oriented, you know what I mean? There's really a lot of white people. And I had no problem with that. I grew up around white, so I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? That's always been part of my life. But it's not that. It's more so the behavior is not condescending with the area. Does that make sense? It wouldn't even be condescending if he did that shit in Grand Central. It wouldn't be condescending if he did that shit in your city, at your train station. So already had a raised eyebrow. Well, keep this. This wasn't a guy that was like 25, 30, 35 years old. This is one of them grown-ass, prolonged, adolescent teenagers. Grown teenagers. This man was like 50, 55 years old. I say older than that. I say actually about 55 he looked. And it might have been half of the drugs he was on, because he was obviously on something. I don't know what he was on, but it wasn't no, you know what I mean, it wasn't no greenery. That shit is legal in New York now. And here in my state too, you know, they just had session 2 weeks ago for the recreational end of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's that's definitely not the issue here. What I see more of a problem is out of everything is this, man. I see a lot of people that are older like him running around with the same behavior. Not only just in our city and in our train station, but I have a way of, I tell motherfuckers real quick, yo, get the fuck away from me. You know what I'm saying? My next response after that is, hey, listen, if whatever you got on your mind, get it off your mind. And then I'll move away. I don't argue with motherfuckers. So I watched him do that. He walked past me again as he went to go talk to some dude that was sitting down that I'm imagining was the same thing. Connecticut did a thing, and when they had a pandemic, they put up these moratoriums. So people that were homeless and they wanted to go into the train station, one place to sit or whatever, they made it so they could sit in there. Those laws are still in effect right now. They're all throughout the tri-state like that. So they cannot because they didn't want it to spread. But as it declines, what's going to happen is those same people haven't had services, haven't had mental health services specifically for like a year or whatever. Don't let a lot of those homeless people fool you. Just because they don't go stay in a homeless shelter doesn't mean that they don't go to homeless, what's the name? My homegirl works for that shit. And you know what I'm saying? Obviously, we'd have a fact before previously, you know, myself, but you have people that work in that diaphragm of that business. They know what's going on. Some of them don't know what's going on, but this is the thing. They actually have people that are homeless that you see, you think are nutty, that actually go to different locations that are considered like, I don't know if you want to call it an outpost or whatever the hell you want to call it, but they're just places, they're like day places. And you can go there and get your mental health. You can go there and go eat. You can go there if you have medication to take. You can go there and take a shower. You know? That's why when a lot of them smell like hell, I'm like, yo, homie, there's a spot for you to take a shower. You know what I'm saying? And I will tell them, I've written it down for homeless because I'm like, yo, you shouldn't be out here smelling like that, because if you smelling like that, God knows what you got on yourself. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these men, it's not that they're sleeping in dirty conditions, it's this. Because most of them are smart enough to put a piece of cardboard down or something like that or whatever. It's not even that. The problem is that most of them, they get so drunk or whatever, they urinate on themselves. And now that stuff is, they have no, you know, and some people they don't know. Because I've given that address to a couple of these guys and tell them, yo, you can go here and take a shower. And they're almost amazed that they didn't know. So, you know, I got to give them that much too. But there's guys that would go and get treatments for the drug problems, all kinds of shit or whatever. I mean, I'm sitting here with my own 2 eyes, so I know these things exist. I think the problem is the fluidity and the information being put back and forth. And so when I speak of violence and the uptick in violence, there's a lot of people that are black and Latino that I've seen that, like, this motherfucker shouldn't be out there. And I'm hoping that a lot of states, see, one of the laws that's enacted in most states is if a person displays any type of mental condition or mental instability, you cannot necessarily institutionalize that person. That person has to be posing a threat, and then he can be institutionalized. But only voluntarily can that person be institutionalized from the latter. And so you run into a lot of situations where you have people that, I don't know, for the most part, are walking around and they have not been attended to for over a year and a half. Now, here in New York City, I'll say in my city as well, what you're having is, and we're right next door to each other, like I'm literally minutes outside of New York City. So that's what I'm headed to now. You know what I mean? And where I used to live. I know this because I was here in New York City when the pandemic started. I was here, I'll let you guys get a little, let me do that, huh? You guys can see. I was here in New York City when this all went down. I remember when I lived in the Bronx, I remember exactly when it hit. I know preemptive notion when it hit, and I'm talking about COVID-19. And I saw the city change from overnight from thousands and thousands of people being out even 2-3 o'clock in the morning, now dwindled down to nothing. And this whole city just disappeared. You know what I mean? It literally just disappeared. And I was so sad at first, and then I started going out and venturing out because I had to go to the grocery store, things like that. And I watched it slowly and gradually till the mayor announced, we want people inside at this certain time at this certain time. And then I think the thing that made it go to the tip top is when they had the George Floyd riots, which I recorded. You know what I mean? I was around for the one in the Bronx. I wasn't around, meaning like I took some shit or something. I was just filming this shit. I went live and was filming people. So you know I ain't take shit. I'm like, damn, if that did, they got me, you know? But I went live for that one. I went live for the riots that were in Manhattan. I recorded everything, and I put it up, so it's up there. I recorded everything from, I guess, ATMs being popped and everything else. It was really for me, it was an experience and socially here in America that I had never seen in my life, you know? And I know people that were older than me. I know people that, you know, I could imagine my grandmother and uncles and all of them or whatever, because they grew up in the 50s and 60s, you know, and their great-grandmothers and all that, 1910, 1920s. So I can imagine they probably saw some of that when it was Great Depression here in America. But that was my first time seeing that for myself. Now, I'm at this age range where I grew up where we saw everything, you know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy. Like I've seen everything now. I saw the Challenger blow up in like first, second grade. I saw 9/11. I've seen OJ. I've seen, you know, it's a lot of shit we've seen in our lifetime. If you're between the ages of, I'm gonna say, now as an adult, I don't know, maybe like 30, yeah, like 30 to 49 age range. That's fair. If you're around that age range, you've seen a lot. So that means you're around about 1990. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. So yeah, you get the gist of what I'm saying here, man. Society has changed, not for the better either. And with the implement of all these different other elements and things that are coming into play, it's quite easily to consider that we're headed somewhere that's negative. And I don't want to head there with motherfuckers. So my best suggestion to you guys once again is cope with the mental illness, cope with the influence from the music, no matter what genre it is. What's that young man that was, I said young man, because he was like a little boy. Okay. I'm sorry, guys, but the fact that she talks out her nose with an accent is fucking annoying as hell. She talks out her nose. I'm pretty sure she's a nice person, but she talks out her nose and she's got an accent. That is hard to deal with. Back to what I was saying. I would say the funniest thing is this. This can be stopped. It can easily be stopped. It can easily be avoided. And this pitfall that we're about to run into in society, or almost making America a third world country voluntarily, is going to have its pitfalls. What I would tell you and introduce to your kids is, if you hear your kids listening to any of this music that's at that tone, and I say this once again because I worked in the business, I helped create some of this shit for 17 years. So I know in depth more than anybody does the critical influence of music that's produced in the theory of music. But in musical theory, tones evoke emotion, and everybody from Bach to Beethoven and everybody else, those are the educated know this. Well, those same tones now are being evoked in a certain type of music, and that's why no matter if you hear Latin, and see, this is the thing. The things that Latinos are doing with their music right now is the same. They borrowing that from Southern artists and borrowing it from Chicago artists. This is drill music, UK drill. I hear it in there. I hear even in reggaeton, that's nothing but calypso and soca and a little bit, very little, of actually Latin influenced music. But the music invokes tones. Oh my God, I'd be so glad I get off of here. Her voice is so fucking annoying. These tones evoke different emotions. And one of the reasons you're hearing one of the main tones right nowadays is this trap hip hop. And the reason you're hearing that trap hip hop The reason you're hearing that same tone, and even that you got the Latino corridor music doing it too, and they're seeing the same results, they're seeing the violence that comes from it. I just put up a video the other day with this brother I think it was Dominican. They were in Brooklyn, and 5 people were shot in one sit, and they got video of it because the store surveillance had it. So it was up on Pix 11, and I watched this, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Because they were right up on each other. It wasn't like, he ran from across the street. They were right up on each other in the middle of a conversation of some sort. They got heated. Money pulled that. Money did not get hit. That was the funny thing. He didn't get hit that time. He doubles back, comes back. His man comes from the side, and he's the one that shoots him. And they're shooting at each other. They run across the corner. In the middle of the street. This, had there been casualties, would have been considered a mass shooting. And it was. You see? This is the type of behavior you have going on, not just in New York City. We're not just going to blame New York, but also in my state, also in other places. But I saw what a deplorable situations happened during COVID-19, and how you basically just had people. I saw the homeless crowd that used to be upstairs and real vivid and running around doing whatever wacko shit they were doing, now underground inside the subway tunnels. And they were all congregated there. All of them, all congregated there. And they would sit there and they would come up with all kinds of different ideas and everything, all kinds of plots. And you'd just be surprised in the winter months, sitting in solitude like that. Most of them don't, from what I saw, most of them didn't interact with each other. What you can comprise in your head, have you had some prior type of mental illness?
This station is
and this dumbass man, the New York City's got that hopefully is on his way to fuck out. And shout out to Eric Adams. I said he was going to be the one. I told y'all earlier, did I say Eric? I said he's going to be the one. He's going to be the one. He's got a lot of different merits. So shout out to Eric Adams for so far leading in the primary. Neglect for the mayor in New York City, and neglect at that particular time. They went out and they checked these guys, and they put some of them in hotel rooms and everything like that, but they just didn't do enough for that group or that portion that didn't want to be in those hotel rooms, didn't want to be in those homeless services and everything like that. And these are the people now pushing people off subway platforms. These are the people that are now slicing people in the head in 42nd Street for no apparent reason. These are the people that are pushing old Asian women over, you know what I'm saying, that are 72 years old because these punk motherfuckers won't attack a man. So these are the people that are a result of the negligence that went on during the whole quarantine process. Okay, this chick is talking too much. See, speaking of the mask. Give me 1 second, guys. You heard that, right? A fine and ejectment from the train. You will be ejected from the train to fine. So COVID-19 is still wild and living. The people that you see is almost equivalent to that movie they had before, The People Under the Stairs. And that's what these people are, they're the people under the stairs. I watched this when I was on 180th Street. I watched this when I was in Fordham, Pelham, all throughout the city wherever I traveled. When I went to Brooklyn, it was the same thing. You saw tons and tons of people in the subway system sleeping. Some had erected their own beds and everything on the subway trains themselves. These people are the destitute are now, along with that whole batch that I say now, is attacking people, being violent in the city and in other cities, including your city. You have to watch for them. You have to watch for the irate motherfuckers that, whoever it is this week that says, I want to go into a grocery store and shoot some 20-year-old girls. You have to watch who the motherfucker is that says, I want to go to the top of the Madeline Bay Hotel and shoot 500 people at a country western concert. You have to watch the thug that says, hey, I'm mad, boo-hoo, foo-foo. My mama left me when I was a kid. Now I'm going to shoot up everybody. You have to watch out for the neurotic chick that says, oh my God, I'm going to take my car and ram into everything because I'm mad at my boyfriend. Oh, oops, I killed 2 people. You know what I mean? You have to watch out for so much shit nowadays based on emotion. And all this emotion is being influenced by 2 to 3 factors, in my opinion. One, most importantly, being the internet. The second one being the neglect of parents to instill any morals in their child. And in most cases, I find they not even pay attention to the kids. You know, when I was growing up, they said the mall was the babysitter. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers are growing up, the internet is a babysitter. I've seen parents say, and brag about it. I spent $136 a month on that cable. You better go in there and pay that PlayStation 4. Chick, what the fuck did you just say? This is why I don't have no kids. This is why I don't have no kids. I refuse to have kids with a woman that is not involved in the rearing portion. You understand what I'm saying? And I proved myself time after time. I had tons of chicks live with this shit. You know what I'm saying? Last one lived with for 7 years. I took her out of the ghetto, if you want to call it. So, and she moved right down to the beach. And she wanted to go spoil that, so back to the ghetto she went. You don't have to take my word for what I'm saying or whatever, but it's what I've seen, it's what I observed, it's what many other people are reiterating. I was reiterating these same words, and many of y'all know that have been here or see this on the rebroadcast months ago. And then when we started seeing the uptick in people getting assaulted in the subway system in New York City, now all of a sudden it's a problem. And it's being swept under the rug by, once again, a negligent mayor and governor. Which one mayor is just a sucker, in my opinion, and the governor, for all stakes and measures, is some type of, let's say, sexual deviant. Let's say at the very least, he's a sexual deviant. It ain't been proven that he touched any girls, and I can't afford to get sued, not right now. So, you know what I mean? Let's say sexual deviant. There's some possibilities there that you like to nug and tug and shit like that, you know? So let's make no mistake about Cuomo. You ain't squeaky clean. And none of the constituents that work with y'all either. People rallying behind these people time after time after time after again. These are the mayor and governor of New York City, if you wonder who I'm talking about. New York State and New York City. And their neglect helped attribute to a lot of this. When these people were downstairs cleaning the subways to make sure the few passengers, and I'm telling you, I got video and way over to Trader Joe's or whatever, you know. So, now I say I was in New York City for the pandemic. You gotta remember, I only left, 4 months ago. Finally, I said, fuck this shit. Fuck am I suffering down here for? I go right back over being by the wall. And unfortunately, things haven't changed in New York City. And I'm sorry to say, I'm scared. Because there's a high complexity of minorities in New York City. And that's subjugated to this type of behavior that I'm talking about. You know, it's bad enough that you gotta go, as a man, I gotta walk around, I got so many different things that come to me. I got racist white men, I've got racist white women, I've got women that are minorities that are disdained about men of color. For whatever reason, their brother molested them or whatever. Then I've got men that come around me that are disdained by men of color because, you know, they were abused or whatever the case may be. So you've always got a whole different litany of different situations going on. And depending on who is what and what is who, you don't know what's going on, you know? And it's sad because it's scary. It's fucking scary. It's like I can't even say hello to you. You're going to flip out. And that's what I was trying to tell you ultimately at the end of this conversation was that same gentleman that was at that train station yesterday, he got so utterly mad that he felt that I didn't speak to him the way he wanted to be spoken to. So he said, "What you gonna do? Kill me?" I said, "What I was trying to kill you for?" It was obvious this guy had a mental problem, you know. And as much as I wanted to be like, all right, you know, I gotta realize
Yes, this is the train to.
I was like, as much as I wanted to realize that this guy had a mental problem or whatever the case, and I probably shouldn't be paying attention to him, I wanted to also emphasize the fact that, hey, dude, you're a regular person. You can't sit around and just harass people because they're the same color as you are, however you feel. And I think that's what he felt. So, guys, be careful out here. Make sure that from now on, when you're out in public and just dealing in general, you got to be careful of the notion that there's a lot of people out here that are sick and they will do whatever they got to do to start something with you. Okay? So be careful. And I think the guy, did I? Oh, man. Hold on one second, guys. I think I dropped something. Oh, my God. Is that window open up there? Thank you. Damn. I just dropped something on the train. Shit. Thank you. Damn. All right, guys, let me get up off of here. I just lost something on the train I'm kind of upset about. I'll be all right. I'll talk to you guys.